Okay, today we're going to hit one of my favorite topics that is swept under the rug a lot, or like I would say it is not given as much credit or weight as it deserves, and that's nutrition for fertility. That's making sure you're eating enough and eating the right foods at the right times so that you can get and stay pregnant, which sounds really complicated. Like, oh, another thing I have to do perfectly, Courtney. I'm already trying everything. I'm eating organic. I've cut out alcohol. I know I need protein in the day. I'm eating breakfast now. Like, what more do you want from me? And look, if that is you, you are like the majority of our clients when they start with us. You all know a lot about what you should be eating and what to stay away from. And you're starting from a good place, but you're still missing the boat on how to eat right for fertility. The good news is it's not as complicated as it's made out to be. You don't need to eat all of the, 15 foods for fertility every day or go on some special fertility diet for 30 days to get to where you need to be. That is not the point of eating well for fertility. This comes up all the time with our clients, you guys. A lot of the first, I would say a lot of the first few weeks within our VIP program, clients are taking their labs to see what's going on in their body, and they're working very closely with their practitioner on our team to get nutrition locked in. Because if you don't get nutrition locked in, that's a foundational element for fertility. If you don't get that locked in, it's going to be really hard to get you all the way there. We can do all the work in the world to try to clear up some of the biochemical imbalances in your body, but we're not going to get you all the way there unless nutrition is locked in, because a lot of it happens because nutrition is out of whack. Now, not all of it by any stretch. There's a lot going on in the gut, and even if you're eating well, micronutrient and mineral deficiencies can exist, and that aren't necessarily nutrition specific, but you've got to get that stuff right to get to a healthy metabolism so that you can have a healthy ovulation so that you can get and stay pregnant. And one of the biggest things I'll tell you guys that we see that it's not an easy fix, especially for women, and I know it's most of you women out there listening, is getting enough to eat. That's a big one. I just talked to a client who's been working with us for a little bit now. So her history is not ovulating on her own, basically ever. Her periods come very irregularly. She has an older son who was conceived via medicated cycles with letrozole. She tried that this time before starting with us. It didn't work. She tried working with a fem provider. She tried a lot of things. And her diet on the surface, when she started working with us, looked pretty good. Like, she eats a lot of organic, she cut out gluten, like down the list of she was eating a lot of protein. And so she's been working with us for a little bit now, and we worked through, again, back to that story about like we can do all the work on the protocols. We worked through a lot of the biochemical things happening in her body, and she was making progress. She ovulated on her own a few times, which was not something that happened before. And then we're getting towards, the end of the VIP time, and it starts to fall off. And she hasn't had a period in a while, and ovulation's not coming. It's like, okay, let's look at nutrition again. Let's look and see what we're doing here with nutrition. Let's log food for a few days. I'm not a fan of counting calories forever, but let's see what's happening with food. We look, and she's not eating enough. Okay, she's not eating enough calories, and I'll get to that in a minute, what that needs to look like for you if you're trying to conceive. She's not eating enough calories every day. And it opens up this whole conversation, which I think is a really important one when we talk about this whole topic of nutrition and getting enough calories in, of body image and feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't eat anymore because I already feel like I'm a little fluffy, or I'm going to put on weight, or I'm going to feel bad about myself if I'm eating enough. So we talked through all of that. She is a Christian woman who spent a lot of time in prayer and opened up to her mom. She talked to me about it. And she eventually realized, God made my body to, she didn't realize, she came back to it. She's known it all along. God made my body to operate perfectly. And if I need more nutrition in my body so that it can operate perfectly, I'm going to do it. She messaged me right before I started this recording and said, hey, she hadn't had a period in like 64 days. She said, I've been eating what you told me to eat for the last 12 days, and I just got my period, which, you guys, is an amazing sign that her fertility is responding so quickly. when you get this stuff right. And there's a lot of resistance with women we work with, even if they won't tell us and be this transparent and honest about it, because we grow up in this society of calories in and calories out and body image and trying to maintain a certain size and all of those things. So let's hit on that piece of it first before we talk about the other things that I'm going to give you tips on that you can start doing right now. How many calories do you need to be getting for healthy fertility? Okay, so this blows everyone's mind when they don't know this yet. The studies show that the average healthy, active woman needs about 2,500 calories a day for a healthy cycle. 2,500 calories a day? What? No, I'm not active. And this is how it starts. I'm not active. Like, I don't do that much. A lot of days I just go for a walk. Like, I like to go to classes at yoga. I do some weights, but like, I'm not active. That's probably not me. I probably only need 1,800. Like, that's the mental games that our crazy brains play when you hear that. But that's not true. Active just means you're moving your body a little bit every day. Okay. And I'll tell you what, the average woman who starts working with us in our program is eating somewhere between 15 and 1,800 calories a day. And it widely varies. And sometimes, like, widely varies day to day. So sometimes they're eating 1,200 calories and sometimes they're getting 1,900. But most of you, most of them, and I'm going to say most of you listening, are not getting anywhere near 2,500 calories a day. And then your brain goes into that game of like, yeah, but I already need to lose 10 or 20 pounds. Yeah, but I put on all this weight and I can't lose it and I already feel gross. There's no way I could eat more calories. Let me explain to you, without geeking out too much on the biochemistry side of things, what's happening when you're under eating calories. If your body needs 2,500 calories a day for a healthy hormonal cycle, which, by the way, a healthy hormonal cycle is a healthy you. This is like everything we're doing here in our practice is to help couples bring home a baby, but the I don't want to call it trick or secret, I don't know, maybe secret of the whole thing is that everything you're doing to improve your fertility is going to improve your overall health, your day-to-day well-being, and your longevity. Okay. Healthy hormones are a healthy you, which is going to make you a better mom when you get to the other side of this also. All right. So what happens if you're not eating enough? The whole calories in, calories out thing that we were sold is a bag of BS. If you are in a caloric deficit of about 300 calories a day or more everybody's a little bit different, but somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks, that'll work. You'll lose weight. If you're going on a beach trip and you want to drop some weight and you restrict your caloric intake by 500 or 600 calories a day, you'll drop weight for about a month. Maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 if you're lucky. And then what happens is your metabolism, which is controlled by your thyroid gland, is going to say, actually, you know what? We're starving to death. Our bodies are incredibly smart. We cannot outsmart them. We're starving to death. We're just going to turn down the heat. We're going to turn down the heat on our metabolism so that this is my base rate now. So 1,700 calories a day or 1,500 calories a day feels like you're getting enough to eat and you're not losing weight, and you may even be gaining weight because what's happened is your metabolism has slowed down. What happens when your metabolism, your thyroid slows down your metabolic processes or your metabolism in your body? Guess what else suffers? You can't poop sometimes. Your digestion slows down. You may not ovulate, and if you ovulate, it might not be strong enough to get pregnant. If it's strong enough to get pregnant, you might not stay pregnant if your thyroid's not operating effectively and your metabolism. You might have really cold hands and feet. You might be fatigued. You might be anxious. You might have a lot of brain fog. Those are the most common things we see when that's happening. And what you need to do to get back up to optimal metabolism, optimal thyroid function, is get that caloric intake up to where it needs to be. Now, are you going to gain some weight in the process? Maybe. It depends on how you do this. So there is a way to do it slowly. And, you can look into reverse dieting, but everybody's a little bit different. So that's why we work so closely with our clients on this. If you're adding about 50 to 100 calories every 1 to 2 weeks, your metabolism has time to catch up. Your thyroid has time to catch up with those extra calories you're taking on. And it is going to, I like to think of it as a speedometer. It's going to turn itself up and it's going to function better. And you're not necessarily going to put on weight. Now, if you're underweight, which a decent amount of our clients are not at an ideal weight yet, and your body might need another 10 or 15 pounds to function properly, you may put on a little bit of weight. If you haven't had another case where you may need to put on a little bit of weight for this to work, is you haven't had your period for a while. If you're dealing with something called hypothalamic amenorrhea, which means you haven't had your period in a while, or you never really had it, or you've only had it when you're on birth control, which isn't a real period, sometimes it takes closer to 3,000 calories a day. Sometimes it takes a big surplus for our bodies to go, oh, okay, I feel safe enough to Okay, well, here's the way I describe this one. I feel safe enough to procreate. And what do I mean by that? When you're starving to death, and I know that sounds ridiculous. You're like, I'm not starving. I feel fat and and I'm never hungry. I eat when I'm hungry. But you're only eating 1,700 calories a day. Your body thinks it's starving to death. And what happens when our bodies think they're starving to death? Well, they deprioritize everything that is not for survival, right? So pooping's not for survival. And you know what's definitely not for survival? Letting you create another human that you have to take care of. That puts you in a really vulnerable position. So that's why we're seeing sex hormones tank. You may not be ovulating. Your progesterone might be low. If you are able to get pregnant, you may keep miscarrying early. Okay, that stuff is going to happen when you're in this state of starving to death, basically. And when that goes away and you're getting enough caloric intake and your metabolism stabilizes and your thyroid starts to work appropriately, you will see the return of fertility. You will see the return of sex hormones. Okay, this is one piece of what we work on with our clients, but it's a big piece. And I would tell you that, like, go grab Chronometer. That's the easiest one. It's free. Like, you can grab their app or get online and track your food for 2 or 3 days and see how many calories you're getting. It's a free app. You just put everything you're eating in there. I am going to bet you money that you're eating somewhere between 12 and 1,800 calories a day. Shoot me a message on Instagram when you've done it for 2 or 3 days and be like, I thought I ate a lot when you were talking. I thought that that didn't apply to me because I eat really good and really healthy and I'm only eating 1,600 calories a day. Oh crap, what do I do? Okay, that is one big component, getting enough caloric intake. And again, it can move the needle so fast. You guys, we've been working, like I said, with this client I was telling you the story about for some time now. And we've talked to her about the nutrition and we've walked through the protocols and we worked with the nutrition piece really early on. But our brains, again, have been through so much programming that, like, if I feel like I'm putting on some weight or if I'm not hungry, it's not necessary. And she had fallen off again and was eating 1,800 calories a day. And just getting that caloric intake up to where her body needed it to be, within 12 days, she had signs that her fertility is returning. 12 days, you guys. Like, this can be a big needle mover really quickly. Okay, so that's the first big one. Make sure you're getting enough calories in every day, and it has to be consistent. We've worked with a lot of clients who are like, well, I did, and then they're doing it for like 2 or 3 days, and then it falls off for a few days, and then another day, and then it falls off for 4 days. It needs to be consistent. You don't need to be counting calories every day, but until you know what 2,500 calories a day looks like, you do need to count it for a while, okay? Because you probably don't even know what that looks like. Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple more things that you can start working on your own. And we'll talk more about nutrition as the podcast continues on. Breakfast. If you are not eating breakfast within an hour of getting up, you're missing the boat for so many reasons. Like, I could do a whole podcast on why breakfast is so important to help with blood sugar spikes throughout the day. It's going to help balance your blood sugar. It's going to help balance your cortisol. Make sure you're getting breakfast with at least 30 grams of protein in it. And if you like coffee, it's fine to have a cup of coffee. Have it after you eat that breakfast. Okay, guys? After you eat a breakfast with at least 30 grams of protein. Every time I talk about this, people are like, I can't eat, what would I possibly eat? I can't eat that much protein. You need 30 grams of protein in each meal to help balance your blood sugar out, ladies. Okay. And balancing your blood sugar is incredibly important for your sex hormones downstream. Remember that speech I just gave you about your body thinking it was starving to death? That's your body in fight or flight. You know what else puts your body in fight or flight? Out of balance blood sugar. Okay, it's going to do the same thing. Whoa, we are we are in a state of crisis, like, oh, sex hormones, let's turn them off. One good way to help balance your blood sugar is making sure you're getting enough protein with every meal. This can look like 3 eggs and some meat if you like breakfast food. And it doesn't need to be bacon or sausage, roast some chicken thighs on Sunday night and tear those up and have them for breakfast. Have a burger for breakfast. Have leftovers from the night before for breakfast. You can really think outside of the breakfast box. One other cheat code I love to get extra protein in the morning, and I don't want this to be all of your protein, okay? Protein shakes are okay, but you want to get as much of your protein from real food as possible. But I'll make a matcha with some matcha powder and hot water. And then I like, this is not sponsored, I just love their brand, Paleo Valley's, their vanilla bone broth protein powder. And if you've got like a good frother, you can stick that in your cup, and you don't need milk or sweetener or anything else. And it makes a delicious matcha and has like 13 grams of protein. So if you're like, well, I'm getting good protein, but I'm only at like 15 or 20 grams, that can help bridge the gap on days where you're not getting all the way there. Okay. So your assignment, I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to give you 3. So you've got things you can go home and do. Your assignment is to see how many calories a day you're eating and see how far off from 2,500 it is, and recognize that that's a big part of your fertility challenges if you're far off, which again, you probably are. Don't be shocked if you are. Number 2 is start getting breakfast in. That'll be a good way for you to up your caloric intake if it's not something you're doing regularly, or you're eating a really light breakfast, or you're grabbing a piece of avocado toast in the morning. That's a place where you can start upping your caloric intake. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to give you today on nutrition is eat something every 3 to 4 hours, which I I would say, okay, message me if you're like, I'm on all of this already. But I would say most of you are doing none of these things yet. Even our clients who are super on top of nutrition, as far as like they know to eat organic, they know about grass-fed meat, they're drinking raw milk, all the things, they're missing the boat on these things that are critically important. Eat something every 3 to 4 hours. That is going to help balance your blood sugar. That is going to tell your thyroid and your metabolism, hey, we're safe, we're nourished, we are getting enough to eat. It's also going to make it easier for you to get somewhere around that caloric needs intake of 2,500 calories a day, because you're gonna do breakfast when you get up, you're gonna have a snack in the morning, you're gonna eat lunch, you're gonna have an afternoon snack, you're gonna eat dinner. Maybe those 2 snacks are spread into different places throughout the day, but usually women are needing 2 to 3 snacks on top of actual meals. I'm not talking about like, well, I had like a ramen out of the pantry, and then I had a few chips later, and then I had like, oh, I had a salad. Like, those aren't full meals. You need to be getting 30 grams of protein in, some good fats, and enough calories to get you all the way there. But instead of getting into the specifics of that, the way you can start, well, see where you're at. It's good to know your baseline. And then the things you can start to do to help up that and balance your blood sugar throughout the day are to get that breakfast in every single day, ideally within 60 minutes of waking. If it's 90 minutes, also okay. If you like coffee, that's fine after you eat. And then the last tip, again, eat something every 3 to 4 hours. Now, one other caveat or thing I'll put on top of that, eat something every 3 to 4 hours. We just talked about getting 30 grams of protein with each of your meals throughout the day. When you're having a snack, this is like 80% of women. They're like, I'm eating snacks. I have an apple in the morning, and like I love oranges or grapes in the afternoon. That's fine. Fruit is amazing. It's a carbohydrate, which we need lots of carbs for healthy hormones, and we want them to be unprocessed, i.e. fruits and vegetables for the most part. You need to get some protein and fat alongside that snack. Now, if you have a lot of gut issues going on, I wouldn't put the fruit along with the protein and fat, but for everyone else, if you want to have an apple with some nut butter, if you want to have a little bit of cheese and some nuts and some carrots or some hummus and cucumbers, drizzle some olive oil over it too. Like, you want to get some healthy protein and fat along with your carbs. The saying around here is no naked carbs. Like, carbs are fine. We're not anti-carbs. We're fairly anti-processed carbs, but we again are not going for perfection here, but we don't want to eat like a lot of chips and pasta and breads. Those aren't providing us with a whole lot of nutrients. They are providing us calories, but not a whole lot beyond the caloric intake as far as micronutrients go. We want a lot of unprocessed carbs, and we want to pair them with protein and fat. Okay, I don't like people to be overwhelmed when they're starting this journey of like making some of the changes at home. And this is how we work with our clients. We do it slower than this. I just gave you a whole lot in 20 minutes. But these are things you can take home right now. Like, go grab Cronometer, go track your food for 2 or 3 days. Get that breakfast, start getting that breakfast in. That's one of the first things we have clients do is like, okay, look, we're going to make sure you get breakfast every day. We're not drinking coffee for breakfast anymore and then like feeling like garbage at 11 or 11:30 and eating lunch. All right, let's do breakfast. That's when you can start right away if you're not on top of that. And then the other one to, again, these are blood sugar balancing. They're going to help you increase your caloric intake. They're going to tell your body you're not in fight or flight, you're safe, and you can create hormones and put yourself in a vulnerable position, is getting something to eat every 3 to 4 hours. So anyway, more to come on nutrition. If you have any questions on any of this, feel free to shoot me a message over on Instagram. Is the easiest way to reach me at Fertility Functionally, and I will answer them in next week's episode. I hope you all have a great rest of your week.